I started out as a conventional biomedical researcher and professor at the medical school, University of Wisconsin, and teaching the basic curriculum at that time, which was called genetic determinism, which is the philosophy or belief that genes determine the characteristics not only of our physical expression, but of our emotional and behavioral characters as well. And I say, well, what was I teaching if you think about it? And I was teaching, in fact, well, genes control your life. And then I say, as far as you know, did you pick the genes you came with? And we go, no, I don't think so. And I go, but if you don't like the characteristics, can you change those genes? And the answer is no. And then we add on top of that, the genes turn on and off by themselves. And I say, so what is the net consequence of this? And the answer is genes control our lives and we don't control the genes. And therefore we are victims of our heredity, whatever running in your family, on cancer, diabetes, whatever cardiovascular issues are attributed to genes, which then makes you like, oh my God, I inherited these genes, and now I'm going to be susceptible to all those problems. And that's what I was teaching, and that was conventional literature at the time. In fact, unfortunately, that is still the belief that the public is holding on to at this moment, even though science has transcended that belief since 1990. They changed their understanding. Because we went from what is called genetic control, genetic determinism, to a new science called epigenetic control. It sounds almost exactly the same. And I go, but it's a revolution because epi means above. So I say, what do we call skin? Epidermis. I go, what does that mean? I said, below the skin is a layer called dermis, and skin is epi, above the dermis. I say, so what does that mean in regard to epigenetics? I say, well, this character is under epigenetic control. I say, what does that mean? Control above the genes. And it's like, wait, the control's not in the genes. I go, absolutely not. Because it turns out genes are blueprints, just like building any kind, like a house or anything. But these blueprints build the physical body that we have. And I go, so why is that relevant? I say, you go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint, and you lean over her shoulder and you ask her, you say, hey, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you like, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. And I go, precisely. Genes do not have an on and off. The significance is the blueprint can be read or the blueprint cannot be read, but in regard to the reading of the blueprint has nothing to do with genes. That genes are actually activated and modified by our consciousness, which is above the genes. And I say, so why is that relevant? I say, because you can change your consciousness. And if you change your consciousness, you change your biology. And all of a sudden I say, well, then I'm a master of my genetics, not a victim. I go, precisely. But people feel they're victims, and consciousness is controlling the genetic expression. And if you have a negative consciousness, like you're a victim, then that's what you will manifest. And the function of the mind is to make coherence between your beliefs and your reality. So if I have a belief I'm powerful, then the function of the mind is to manifest a powerful expression. And if I believe I'm a victim, then the function of the mind is to create situations to reveal I'm a victim. And unfortunately, this is the latter action that's happening on this planet right now, because we have programmed everybody through education, science, developmental programming that genes control their lives, and good luck with that. And it's like, this is wrong, because we are more powerful. In my research back at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine, I was cloning stem cells, which are embryonic cells. Everybody wonders, do I have stem cells? I'll give you a little simple answer. If you're watching this program right now, you have stem cells, because a body made out of 50 trillion cells, every day we lose hundreds of billions of cells normally, and we're still here. And I said, well, where are the replacement cells coming from? And they're called stem cells, which are embryonic cells. So very briefly, what did my research reveal that so completely conflicted with the conventional story was I would put one stem cell in a petri dish by itself. This is called cloning. And that cell would divide every 10 hours or so. And so first there's 1, then 2, 4, 8, 16, doubling. At the end of the week, I have 30,000 cells in the petri dish. But the most important insight is this: they all are genetically identical because they all came from the same parent. So the significance about this is that I have genetically identical cells, 30,000 of them. I split them into 3 Petri dishes, 10,000 in a dish. And then I feed them culture medium. And I say, what's culture medium? Well, that's the environment that cells grow in. What is it really? In a lab, culture medium is the laboratory version of blood. So if I grow human cells, I say, hey, what's in human blood? And then make culture medium based on that. Or I grow mouse cells. What's in mouse blood? Make culture medium for mouse cells. So I say, so what? I say, I'm making culture medium. So in the process, I make 3 slightly different versions of culture medium, changing just a little chemistry in each one. So they represent 3 different environments. And so I have 3 dishes, genetically identical cells and all, but I feed them a different culture medium, 3 different culture media, 3 different environments. And one dish, the cells form muscle. The other dish, they form bone. And the third dish, the stem cells form fat cells. And then you stand back and you go, so what controlled the fate of the cells? And the answer is, well, wait, they were all genetically identical. The only thing that was different was the composition of the culture medium, which then changed the expression. And all of a sudden it says, the genes didn't control this, the environment controlled the cells. And then I go, oh, that's really nice, cells in a plastic dish. And then one last thing here, Marianne, and that is when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see one living entity, I go, that's an illusion, because a human body is made out of 50 trillion cells. A human body is a community of cells. And so I refer to it, we are skin-covered petri dish. And I go, inside my skin-covered dish, 50 trillion cells, but I have the original growth medium. And I say, what's that? Blood. And I go, oh, so in my skin-covered dish, my cells are in an environment of blood, and it's the chemistry of the blood that determines the genetics. And then all of a sudden you say, yeah, but what determines the chemistry? And I go, the mind. And as we have different thoughts, the thoughts generate complementary chemistry. You have good thoughts, you get good complementary chemistry. You got scary thoughts, you got scary 50 trillion cells now. So what was the point? We are powerful creators of our life experiences. We are not victims of our genetics. With consciousness, you can, Gina said, is a blueprint to make a protein, which is a building block of the body. I said, with consciousness, I can use the same blueprint and create over 3,000 different proteins from one blueprint. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, you're the master. Your consciousness will look at your genes and adjust it to fit your vision of the world. And if you have a negative vision of the world, then negative chemistry comes forth. But if you're in love, for example, the wonderful chemistry of love that you find in the blood as well, dopamine for pleasure, oxytocin to bond you with that source, vasopressin, a hormone that makes you more attracted to keep your partner, and growth hormone. And I go, wow, if you make a cocktail out of those elements called culture medium, the cells thrive like crazy. But then I say, well, what if you have a thought of fear? I go, the love chemistry doesn't come out of the brain. Fear chemistry, stress hormones, factors that regulate the immune system that shut it down come out in fear. And I go, oh. I said, what's the relevance? I say, the blood in a state of fear has chemistry that doesn't support vitality. In fact, it shuts down the system. And I go, because in protection, you wall yourself off, so you shut it down. I go, so love gives you growth. Fear shuts off your growth. And all of a sudden I say, yeah, but the vision of love and fear is what determines the chemistry, which in turn determines genetic activity. Conclusion, your thoughts are manifesting not just your interior life expression, but also your behavior that influences your life in the outside world.